Prepositional phrases add information to a sentence, usually about time or place or some other extra bit of information. So we don't really have to have them. So I'm going to show you some sentences that don't have prepositional phrases, and they're complete sentences by themselves. Here we go. The park was ugly. We have a subject and a verb with a tense, so it's complete. The children didn't have a good school. People had to travel. There were no lights. The city did many things. All of those are fine, but let's look at a prepositional phrase now. It starts with a preposition. You can see them in the first column: in, for, at, to, on, about, of, by, between, across. That's just a few examples. We also have from, below, above, over, next to, beside, many others. A preposition is followed by a noun phrase, which would be a noun with any of the words that go with it, like a and the, adjectives, any other words that you need, but not verbs, not verbs. When we put them together, we get something that looks like this. If you start out with the park was ugly, add in the past, we have information about time. In the past, the park was ugly. All right, look at the second one. The children in that town did not have a good school. So it's telling us more about those children. People had to travel for 6 hours. That's time. There were no lights in the street at night. So there are two prepositional phrases, one next to each other, and then another one. Another way to say it would be to move at night to the front of the sentence. And then you have in the street at the end. So you can see that prepositional phrases can go in different places in the sentence. And the city did many things for the homeless. You have a reason why and gives you that extra information. Now, if you want to take a closer look, these are the prepositional phrases that I mentioned. Notice that you can put them in front when the information affects the entire sentence. You put them after a noun they describe. So the children in that town, it's not all children, only those children. Or they go after an important bit of information that they describe, as in people had to travel for 6 hours. So it has to go right next to that. And you can see in the next example that you could have 2 or 3 prepositional phrases next to each other. That would be fine. So they can go at the beginning of a sentence, they can go after nouns, and they can go after many verbs. Let's have you practice. Here are some sentences that might go with describing a city. So it's a bit of a challenge, but I want you to stop the recording. Write some sentences with prepositional phrases on your own, and then you can start the recording to see some examples of what I did and compare. So ready to look? Here are mine. So I added, the park was located in the city center. Makes that sentence much better. The economy was not good for many years. I added information about time. There were more people at the park, about the place. The city needed money for the tunnel. Now the next one. At first, people didn't know about the project. I've got 2 prepositional phrases there. And the road to the city was dangerous. To the city here is a prepositional phrase. And you know that because to is followed by a noun, not a verb. Okay, and the last one, the city did not have a sports stadium for soccer. So maybe they had a sports stadium for another something else like cricket. Okay, so if you did it a different way, it's still probably all right. One of the tricks in creating prepositional phrases is using the right preposition. And to really get used to that, it's very, very helpful to do a lot of reading and kind of listen to people when they speak with prepositions, although they're small words and hard to hear. Sometimes people make mistakes with prepositions. If you look at this first one in red, "Our many bike trails" is not a complete sentence. "In Houston" cannot be a subject. Prepositional phrases cannot be the subject of a sentence. So see two corrections. In Houston, there are many bike trails. We can use a there is, there are expression, or just make Houston the subject. Houston has many bike trails. The same thing happened with "at the park have many new trees for shade." Have does not have a subject because it's illegal to make a prepositional phrase the subject. So you see two corrections there. The park has many new trees for shade. It's simpler. At the park, there are many new trees for shade. So keep practicing. It's good to be aware of prepositional phrases, and you might make a note of them when you read. Just take a, oh, there's a prepositional phrase. I'll try to remember how that works. Sometimes we have a little trouble, like, he lives on 23rd Street at 536. You see, it's, there are all these different ways that we use it. The good news is, if you make a mistake with the prepositional phrase, it's not a big deal because people will still understand you. But hopefully this helps you to know what a prepositional phrase is when you see one. And so if I talk about it or another teacher talks about it, you'll know.